The WWE NXT show on February 25, 2025, kicked off with an exciting match between Carmen Petrovich and Stephanie Baker for the NXT Women's North American Championship. The match began with Stephanie taking control early, locking in a side headlock and following it up with a shoulder block, a drop down, and a duck under. Petrovich quickly responded, executing a reverse side kick, but Baker answered with a dropkick and some hard-hitting lariats. The action escalated as both women demonstrated their agility and skill, with Petrovich hitting a back suplex and gaining momentum with a figure-4 head scissors. The two women exchanged blows with corner knees from Baker and a desperate elbow strike from Petrovich. Baker retaliated with a brutal headbutt and slap, followed by charging into Petrovich. However, Petrovich fought back, blasting Baker with a high roundhouse kick before transitioning into a handstand victory roll. The action kept intensifying as Petrovich dragged Baker into the ropes, landing a tiger feint kick, but was cut off when Baker springboarded back in, only to be hit with a super kick by Petrovich. Despite her best efforts, Petrovich couldn't keep Baker down, and after blocking a kick, Petrovich found herself trapped in a dragon screw after a brilliant counter. In the end, Stephanie Baker defeated Carmen Petrovich by pinfall, retaining the NXT Women's North American Championship. After the match, Julia made her entrance, mic in hand, and congratulated Baker on her victory. She boldly stated that while Baker is a great champion, she isn't the best because she is. Julia referred to herself as La Primera, the champion of champions. Stephanie, seemingly unfazed, replied that they were friends but suggested a match between the two, a title versus title, champion versus champion contest. The challenge was left on the table. Meanwhile, Ariana Grace was seen chatting with Santino Marella about the ongoing NXT TNA agreement. Grace mentioned the possibility of the Hardy Boyz appearing on NXT, but the conversation quickly shifted when Lola Vice barged in, demanding a match. Vice didn't care which show it was on, and when Grace dismissed her, Vice shot back, calling her a liar and challenging her to a match. Santino had to intervene, using his free hand to control the Cobra, which kept Ariana from reacting further. Grace, clearly annoyed, accepted Vice's challenge, and another backstage segment, Lexis King, with braided pigtails reminiscent of a demented hair metal version of Pippi Longstocking, approached Oba Phi. King challenged him to a match, proposing a Ruler vs. King showdown. The next match saw Lexis King face Moose for the TNA X Division Championship. King was relentless, hitting a Frankensteiner for a near fall, followed by a diving crossbody, but Moose kicked out. Moose retaliated with a devastating release powerbomb, but King stayed in the fight, attempting his coronation move. However, Moose managed to kick out and with brutal force, delivered a spear to secure the pinfall victory, retaining the TNA X Division Championship. After the match, Oba Phi made his way to the ring, facing off with Moose. He congratulated Moose on his hard-fought victory over Lexis King and then turned the focus to the real competition between the two of them. He hinted at what fans really wanted, teasing a future showdown, and remarked that AA Reign had made the match official. The night ended with tensions rising, setting the stage for more fierce rivalries and championship bouts to come. In 2 weeks, at the upcoming Roadblock event, a highly anticipated title versus title match is set to take place. Before that, Shawn Spears delivered a fiery promo, hyping up his allies, Brooks Jensen, Nico Vance, and Izzy Dame, while revealing that the final piece of the puzzle for him to win the NXT North American Championship from Tony D'Angelo is his own willpower. Spears confidently declared that with his team by his side, he would take the title from D'Angelo and cement his dominance in NXT. Next, Jordynne Grace made her entrance and grabbed a microphone. She took a moment to reflect on her journey, stating that from the moment she first stepped into a WWE ring last year, she knew exactly where she belonged. As an outsider at the time, she carried an entire company on her back, but after spending time in the NXT women's locker room, feeling the hunger of the competitors, she knew she had to be part of it. She didn't hesitate when the opportunity came to sign with NXT, with one singular goal in mind, to become a champion in what she believes is the best women's division in the world. Grace continued, saying that the last time she was in the ring, it was between two women like nothing anyone had seen before. But now, with her arrival, she could feel the shift in the locker room. Julia and Stephanie Baker felt it too. The foundation they had built was beginning to crack. Grace boldly stated that whether they liked it or not, it was only a matter of time before she would be standing across from one of them in the ring. The juggernaut was unstoppable, and she was ready to take her place at the top. Just as Jordynne Grace finished her passionate speech, Roxanne Perez interrupted. Perez, with a sly grin, welcomed Grace back and acknowledged that it made sense for Grace to outgrow where she came from. Roxanne added that any female wrestler worth their salt knew that NXT was the place to be. She also reminded Grace that she had made the NXT women's division famous. Grace, not one to back down, asked Perez if she was implying that this was her division. Perez quipped that if Grace was referring to the title she couldn't take from her, she had better stop talking. She added that the gap between them, one that had existed since last year, was still very much there. Roxanne then declared that she would win at the upcoming Elimination Chamber and go on to become the WWE Women's World Champion at WrestleMania. She even teased that, if she felt like it, she might just become a 3-time NXT Women's Champion and have everyone calling her Roxy Two Belts. Grace fired back, saying there's a famous saying that everyone has a plan, until she punches Roxanne in the face. Roxanne quickly bailed out of the ring as Grace stood tall, ready for any challenge. Meanwhile, Trick Williams was seen on his phone, lamenting his lack of success in the NXT. Just then, J. Yvonne Evans approached him, trying to engage in conversation. However, Trick took what Evans was saying the wrong way and snapped back, saying that he wasn't the same as Evans. Williams told him that Evans was fighting over a smile while Trick was fighting for a title and should stay in his lane. J. Yvonne stepped up to Trick, but before anything could escalate, Ricky Saints appeared and extended his hand to Trick. However, Trick just coldly walked away, leaving Saints hanging, not interested in the handshake, clearly focused on his own business. Back from the commercial break, an interview took place with Jada Parker backstage. Jada, visibly upset, reflected on Jordynne Grace's recent words. She said that Grace may have had the right idea, but she was clearly missing the mark. Jada, still seething from her loss of the title, explained how Grace had brushed her off, and she wasn't going to take it lightly. She declared that she had lost her mind since losing the title and that NXT wasn't ready for what was coming. Jada Parker didn't play by anyone's rules, and she made it clear that Jordynne Grace would find out the hard way. The night's action continued with a thrilling tag team match between the Hardy Boyz and the No Quarter Catch crew. After an intense back and forth, the Hardy Boyz emerged victorious, securing the win by pinfall, leaving the No Quarter Catch crew reeling. The match showcased the Hardys' incredible experience and resilience, as they continued to prove their dominance in NXT. The February 25, 2025, edition of WWE NXT had an action-packed night, starting with a post-match segment following the Hardy Boyz' victory. After their win, Matt Hardy executed a lateral press on Miles Bourne. The mood was celebratory as Fromm and Axiom entered the ring, congratulating the Hardy Boyz and welcoming them to NXT. Matt Hardy expressed his appreciation, saying he's loved his time in NXT so far. He mentioned watching them defend their titles and praised them for their impressive run. Nathan Fraser chimed in, calling the Hardy Boyz the greatest tag team in the world today, standing face-to-face with the greatest tag team of all time. Jeff Hardy, eager to skip the pleasantries, suggested they should book a match to determine who the best tag team in the world really is. Just as the tension between the two teams rose, TNA's director of Fun Authority, Santino Marella, made his entrance. He announced that he and AA had made a big decision for the upcoming Roadblock event. Fromm would face the Hardy Boyz with the TNA World Tag Team Championship on the line. Both teams shook hands in agreement, setting the stage for a highly anticipated title match. Meanwhile, the D'Angelo family gathered at a restaurant, discussing the events of the previous week. Tony D'Angelo rolled up, and while SDA tried to apologize for his actions, Tony dismissed it, saying, "You can't win 'em all." Tony appreciated SDA's help but emphasized that it was on him to make things right moving forward. Footage from over the weekend aired, showing a confrontation between Chelsea Green and Piper Niven against Sol Ruca and Zaria. In the bizarre moment, Piper pulled out a tiny baby blue stun gun, which briefly created a strange, tension-filled moment before the usual pro wrestling posturing returned. The segment ended with Niven and Green agreeing to a tag match against Ruca and Zaria. Next, the match between Ariana Grace and Lola Vice took place. After an intense back and forth, Lola Vice emerged victorious, pinning Ariana Grace with a spinning back fist. The victory highlighted Vice's continued rise in the NXT women's division. Following this, Eddie Thorpe delivered a passionate promo. He reflected on the history of Native Americans in Ohio, noting how they were displaced westward, which he compared to his own journey in NXT. He expressed his frustration over how he had beaten Trick Williams fair and square, yet the powers that be were still denying him opportunities. Thorpe declared that if he had to face Williams again, he wanted him just as badly as Williams wanted him. Ava Raine then appeared, making a few announcements for Roadblock. She confirmed 2 major matches for the event. Moose would face Oba Phi, and Julia would defend her title against Stephanie Baker in a title versus title match. These announcements set the tone for an explosive Roadblock event. The main event of the night featured a high-stakes tag team match between All Ego Ethan Page and Wes Lee versus Javen Evans and Absolute Ricky Saints. The match saw the heels, Evans and Saints, gain control early on, isolating Wes Lee and working him over. Saints got the hot tag, delivering a tilt-a-whirl gutbuster off the ropes and a huge lariat. All Ego Page broke up the pin attempt, and the action spilled to the outside, where Evans hit a Superman punch and a suicide dive on Page. The fight continued in the crowd, with Lee managing to land a double knee to Saints. Despite Lee's best efforts, Saints pressed the attack, and with a devastating Rochambeau finisher, Ricky Saints pinned Wes Lee for the victory. The show ended with Evans and Saints celebrating their win as the crowd erupted in excitement. The camera faded out, leaving fans eagerly awaiting the next chapter of NXT. On a scale from 1 to 10, I'd rate this week's NXT show an 8. The matches were exciting, the storylines progressed well, and Roadblock is shaping up to be a must-watch event. What do you think? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps me motivated to deliver more content consistently. Thanks for watching.